Hey everyone, welcome back to News BLADI. New Epstein photos are shaking Washington tonight, and Donald Trump is now responding directly. Images from Epstein's estate are resurfacing, showing Trump, Bill Clinton, and other powerful figures. Trump says there's nothing unusual. But critics aren't buying it. So what do these photos really show? Why are they coming out now? And could this reopen one of America's most controversial scandals? Stay with me, we're breaking it all down.
By law, the Justice Department now has just a week left to release everything it has on Jeffrey Epstein. Today, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee made their own contribution to the public record, putting out several dozen photos that were provided by the Jeffrey Epstein estate. Now, these are just some of the more notable ones. The ranking committee Democrat, Congressman Robert Garcia, calls them, quote, disturbing, and says they, quote, raise even more questions about Epstein and his relationships with some of the most powerful men in the world. To be clear, though, while the photos certainly do include photos of powerful men, the president included, the committee provides absolutely no captions or descriptions to put what we're seeing in any kind of context. And none of the men has ever been charged with any wrongdoing related to Epstein. None of the released images depict any sexual misconduct, nor believed to depict underage girls. For instance, there's this photo of then citizen Trump with a woman on a plane, but no clue as to whose plane or which woman or when and where this was taken. There's also an image of him surrounded by women, all of whose faces have been obscured. Again, no information about who these women are in the photo, nor when and where this was taken. The president weighed in on the photos tonight.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I mean, everybody knew this man. He was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
There are photos as well of Epstein and conservative podcaster Steve Bannon, the president's former White House strategist and longtime booster, but again, no context to the photos. In one of them, we see a framed photo on Epstein's desk of a woman. Her face is concealed, apparently sprawled on a couch or the edge of a bed. Other photos show several more well-known Epstein acquaintances. This film director Woody Allen with Epstein, apparently a filming location. There's Epstein with the British billionaire Sir Richard Branson. There's a shot of Bill Gates with Britain's then Prince Andrew, though again, like all these photos, no context. This photo shows former President Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein, accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, and two other people. We should note that late tonight, Republican House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer threatened contempt proceedings against Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton if they don't appear for depositions on Epstein next week. Also among the photos, this one of a satirical Trump condom made by a New York novelty shop. One of those condoms is actually in the Smithsonian, though it's not on display. And more photos of Epstein himself, one in a tub, apparently taking a bubble bath, another at a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, apparently holding a book about himself over his face. Finally, there's this, unclear where it was taken, a GX99 massage therapy system. Joining me now, Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, who sits on the committee that released the photos. Congresswoman, why did Democrats on your committee choose to release these photos now, and can you give any context around them? Do you know the context of them?
Yes, so I was briefed on this release this afternoon, and as I understand it, on Thursday afternoon, the estate notified the committee that they had additional documents to produce in response to the subpoena that the committee had issued. This would be the fourth tranche of documents that have been released. As you recall, the first was the birthday book. The second was flights, schedules, and a series of documents. And the third were the emails that were these explosive documents a few weeks ago. And so the latest is a set of photographs that seem to come from an iCloud account that Jeffrey Epstein held, as well as photos that were attached to emails. And as was explained to me by the attorneys from the committee, there was no context provided by the estate. So there are 95,000 photos released by the estate. The attorneys went to New York to meet with the estate to authenticate that these were indeed from the estate, and they were released to the committee. As the attorneys explained to me, they are only about 10% through the entire photograph cache, and that there are many more very, very disturbing photographs, including potentially photographs of sex acts and other disturbing photos in this cache of documents. And so I don't know the specifics as to why the committee chose this representative few photographs, but certainly the photographs are quite disturbing.
And just to be clear, what you just said, you said that there are other photographs that attorneys are still going through, which may show actual sex acts. Are those attorneys for your committee, or are those from the Epstein estate? Has the Epstein estate actually handed over those images already?
Yes, they have. So this is an actual document production pursuant to the congressional subpoena. So we subpoenaed these documents from the estate, and they've been producing various documents in various tranches. So like I said, this is the fourth production, and the attorneys for the committee, which is a bipartisan set of attorneys, so both Democratic and Republican attorneys, went to authenticate the release of these documents.
So do you know how many more photos your committee has, and do you know when they may be released?
As was explained to me by the attorneys today, there's about 95,000 photographs were released by the estate yesterday.
So you have, I mean, there's only been, I don't know, a dozen or so photographs released now. So you have almost 94,000 or plus photos still to go through, or are going through.
As I understand it, that is what the staff and attorneys on the committee are going through right now, yes.
All right. Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joining me now, former federal prosecutor and professor at the Cardozo School of Law, Jessica Roth, and Julie K. Brown, award-winning investigative reporter for the Miami Herald. Her work was vital in exposing the extent of Epstein's sex trafficking ring. She's also the author of Perversion of Justice, the Jeffrey Epstein Story. Julie, when you hear that there are some 90, I mean, it sounds like almost still 95,000 or 94 more plus thousand photos still to be released, what do you make? I mean, that's a huge amount.
Well, they probably encompass quite a number of years. When he was doing his sex trafficking in Palm Beach, we know from my interviews with those victims that Ghislaine Maxwell, his accomplice, was taking a lot of photographs of those underage girls. They had reported that they were instructed at several points to pose provocatively in various stages of undress. And part of it sometimes was just to give Jeffrey a present, a birthday present or some kind of a gift with these pictures. She was with a camera all the time, I was told from some of these victims. So it could go back quite a ways. That was 20 years ago. So, and the police, by the way, when they raided his home back in 2005, his computers were already pulled out. In other words, he was tipped off. So they never got their hands on the photographs back then. They never got their hands on his computers, which presumably contained some of these photographs. So it's a long period of time probably that they have this information.
Jessica, why do you think some of the faces were redacted by the committee and others not?
We haven't been provided with a full explanation of that. I mean, that's among the many things that we don't have about the context for these photographs. I think the implication is that these may be redactions to protect the privacy of the survivors. We know that that is something that Congress is appropriately concerned about, and that the Department of Justice under the Epstein Transparency Act is permitted to make redactions for, but there hasn't been a clear statement.
And they have not said these faces are redacted because they are survivors.
That's my understanding. That certainly was not put out with the photographs, to my understanding, thus far. But again, we don't have so much of the context for these photographs. We don't have the dates on which they were taken. We don't have where they were taken, or information about what was happening at the moment when the photographs were taken, sort of outside of the frame.
Right. I mean, some of these could be, public events that the people are just being photographed with, to the point that the president made. I mean, I think it's a fair point. Many people had photographs of Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. We need a clear statement from Congress about why they're making the redactions that they are, and more context to be able to appreciate the significance of these photographs that were released today.
Julie, the Department of Justice has a deadline, December 19th, to release the documents, as you well know, that it has in possession. Do you think they'll meet that deadline? And how much redaction? I mean, I guess there's no way to know what Pam Bondi is going to do and what kind of instructions she's following. But what's your hope or what's your sense?
Well, I think that they are obviously going to have to release something. It's just a question of how much it's going to be redacted or how much they're going to withhold on the grounds that now, as you know, the president announced that they were going to do an investigation into Democrats. So that's an open criminal investigation. So they could use that as a reason to not turn over some of this material. But what I will say is the good part about the whole thing, there are two good pieces of good news on this, and that is that the Oversight Committee, quite frankly, is getting more information than I think is contained in the Justice Department files. I've always felt that the Justice Department really didn't investigate this case thoroughly from the very beginning. So we're probably getting more information from them, number one. And number two, we have the victims, and more of them are talking and coming out every single day. And they know what happened, and they are talking. And, it would behoove the FBI, for example, to start talking to some of these women and to really find out what Epstein was doing and who was involved and who was helping him.
And Julie, you're saying the committee's getting more information. Is that because they're getting it from the Epstein estate?
Yes, the Epstein estate is turning over. Like I said, I know, for example, when the investigation was in Palm Beach, they didn't get these photographs. They didn't get anything from his computer. So they're getting more information probably now than before, number one. And number two, we could compare it to what the Justice Department is going to turn over. For example, if the Justice Department says we didn't get anything on his computers, we know for a fact now that there was information on his computers.